Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video, wherever you are, whatever you may be doing. Thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. If you jump on here live here on this Sunday evening, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Make sure to give the video a like, a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so and share the video on all social media platforms and tell your friends, tell your family about the channel. Good afternoon, Kevron. Glad to have you here. As always, and Kevron, you know that every day is a good day to be a Clemson Tiger fan. Got some friends of mine that went to the Morgan Wallen concert last night in Clemson, matter of fact, and I told them, hey, y'all go, have fun, you're in God's country, you're never going to see a more beautiful stadium or more beautiful city and nicer people, but I wouldn't go to a Morgan Wallen concert if he sung in my bedroom. I just do not like Morgan Wallen, can't stand him. I think he's a no talent, try hard hack, but if you've never been to Clemson, it's a great experience, but my first time going to Clemson would not be to see Morgan Wallen. Now, Ella Langley I could do, and Friday Night Brooks and Dunn I could do, but not Morgan Wallen. But I wanted to go ahead and come on here now because I know it's a busy weekend in the world of wrestling, and AEW and TNA have already started their pay-per-views, but they haven't got down to the good stuff yet. It's still kind of early. Then, of course, WWE has a televised pay-per-view coming up later on this evening. So, for all the wrestling fans out there, I wanted to go ahead and come on here and get off before, those get good or start, in case you want to watch them. And speaking of wrestling, this upcoming Saturday, I'm going to be at Bobby Brown Park, which is in Elberton, Georgia. It's on the back side of Elberton, Georgia, almost in South Carolina. You could go to the park and hop, skip, and jump, and you'd be in South Carolina. Hey, Patrick, glad you're on here. You should have walked up to me last night and spoke to me so I would know who you are. But, man, it's so nice to have you on here, and I'm so glad you came last night. And make sure you come back to another show, and trust me, believe me, next time if I walk by you, if you just say Brandon or Brandon Todd or Ref, I'll be more than happy to speak to you. But between my job and my part-time gig in radio and church and wrestling, I just see so many people that I don't recall faces, but typically, generally, usually once you stop me, introduce yourself, usually I remember. But I'm so glad you came last night. I'll be back in that same building in 2 weeks for SWA coming up on Saturday, July the 11th. But I have not spoke to David today, so unfortunately I can't give you an update, good or bad, because I have not spoke to David today, so I can't tell you. I was going to wait until, Tuesday or Wednesday and see how he's feeling, because anytime you have a wrestling match and you get hurt, it's always the worst the next couple of days. So I feel like come Tuesday or Wednesday, it should be a little bit better. But unfortunately, I don't have an actual update. But Patrick, so good to have you on here. But this upcoming Saturday, I'm going to be at Bobby Brown Park, which, as I just said, is on the back side of Elberton, almost in Calhoun Falls, South Carolina. But since it's July 4th, we're going to have a wrestling show on July 4th at the park, right beside a lake. We're going to have slushies there. We're going to have fireworks there. We're going to have face painting there. And we're going to have some fantastic wrestling. Now, it's going to be kind of like a mini festival, so the overall event will start at 5 o'clock, but the actual wrestling will start at 6:30, and I think we've already just about sold out. So if you have not got your tickets yet, I encourage you to go online and get them, because if you decide to come last minute, you're probably not going to be able to get in the park, at least where the wrestling is. So please get them early. But I want to quickly talk about Night of Champions. Of course, it was in Saudi Arabia, so it was yesterday afternoon. So I feel like everybody that didn't see it live has had more than 24 hours to go back and watch it. And then I want to have a general discussion about wrestling. And of course, since we have AEW's pay-per-view and TNA's pay-per-view and NXT's pay-per-view, we still got to talk about all of those coming up later on this week. Hey there, Johnny. Glad to have you here, Johnny. If you are new to the channel, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Tell your friends, tell your family about the channel. Make sure you click that bell so you'll get notified whenever I or we go live. And make sure you click that bell and give the video a like and a thumbs up. And thank you so much for being here, Johnny. If you are new, for whatever reason made you stop by the channel tonight, thank you very much. But as far as Night of Champions yesterday, Obafemi defeated Jey Uso to win the men's King of the Ring, and Io Sky beat Liv Morgan to win the women's Queen of the Ring. Seth Rollins beat Braun Breaker in their steel cage match. Trick Williams beat Ricky Saints in a match for the men's United States Championship, and then Tiffany Stratton beat Jade Cargill in a match for the women's United States Championship. And then Sami Zayn beat Gunther and Cody Rhodes to become the new undisputed WWE champion. And that match in particular is why I want to have a general discussion about wrestling. Now, when I say general discussion, I'm talking about if you're a wrestling fan and you've been a wrestling fan for a long time. If you've just been a wrestling fan for 10 years, you really can't comment. If you're a wrestling fan back in the day, but you hadn't watched it in 20 years, you really can't comment. But if you've been a wrestling fan for 35 years plus and you still watch it, you can comment. And the reason why I say that is because I'll be 42 years old tomorrow. Now, I feel like I'm 22 and I act like I'm 12, but I'll be 42 tomorrow. So I'm not old, but I started watching wrestling when I was 6 years old. So I've been watching wrestling for 35 plus years now. So you could say I'm a wrestling lifer, but I'm just a wrestling lifer as far as just enjoying wrestling. I'm not a wrestling enthusiast. There are some people you could walk up to and say, hey, what was the main event of SummerSlam 91? And they can tell you. I can't do that. Now, I could read about it and remember, but off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you. I watch wrestling for the moments and for the gimmicks and the characters and for crowd reaction. I don't really watch it to try to maintain every single thing that happens. But the Sami Zayn is what really brings up this conversation, because I've mentioned this numerous times before here on the channel, but I do a podcast usually once a week, but this past week it was twice. This upcoming week it's going to be twice, and then next week it's probably going to be twice, but generally it's once a week. I do a podcast with my man JJ over on the Greenville Sports Media YouTube page and the Greenville Sports Media TikTok page, and it's called Wrestling and Racing, where we discuss, believe it or not, wrestling and racing. And thank you, Johnny, by the way. And actually, I didn't even say that because you asked that. I said that because it was part of the conversation. But yes, tomorrow is my birthday, and I'll wake up and I'll still be sexy. But the past couple of weeks, him and I have talked about, over the years, how much wrestling's changed, and what do we think, has changed for the good, and what do we think has changed, for the bad, and what's happened to wrestling fans. And I really wasn't going to bring it up on here because I wanted everybody to go, watch our podcast on the Greenville Sports Media YouTube channel. But with this Sami Zayn thing yesterday, I thought, I've just about got to talk about it now and bring it up, because this is part of the conversation. Because Jay and I have talked about how wrestling fans nowadays are just not happy, and nothing ever satisfies them. Hey there, Gary. Bobby the Brain Heenan is the absolute GOAT of wrestling. I'm assuming you're talking about managers because, yeah, he wrestled, but it was for a short period of time, and everybody knows Bobby Heenan as the manager or the commentator, not the wrestler. So I'm going to assume you're talking about just overall managers, and he would be, if not the top, at the very top of the list. Thank you for your comment, Gary. I appreciate it. But the past probably 3 to 4 years, all you've heard is wrestling fans complain, saying, give Sami Zayn the championship. Why ain't Sami Zayn the world champion? And then yesterday, Sami Zayn finally wins the world championship, and then immediately people start saying, why is this man the champion? So the same fans that complain that he's not champion instantly start complaining that he is the champion. And that's one of the things that's happened to wrestling fans over the years is they're just never happy. They just got to find something to complain about. Nothing is ever good enough. My favorite wrestling person, if you're talking about just as far as wrestlers go, my favorite wrestler of all time is Randy Orton. I think he's the best wrestler of all time. But my favorite wrestler, just as far as today goes, I would say it's Gunther, because I'm an old school wrestling fan and I like guys that go out there and wrestle. And Gunther's not flashy. He doesn't do high flying stuff. He just goes out there, gets in the ring, and wrestles. And to me, what makes wrestling is guys that go out there and just wrestle. Gunther doesn't need weapons. He doesn't want a manager. He doesn't want to cheat. He just wants to go out there, get in the ring, and wrestle. So for today's product, it's Gunther, but the best wrestler of all time is Randy Orton. But in 5 years from now, when Gunther has been around another 5 years, I may change my opinion on that. But for right now, the best wrestler of all time is Randy Orton. But fans just not being happy is just one of the things that's changed about, wrestling. I don't know where that's happened at, but it's happened over the past probably 10 years, really. And Paul Heyman, you have a great day too, Johnny, and please come back some other time. Tonight we're talking wrestling, but I also talk college football, I talk NFL, I talk baseball, I talk NASCAR, and I do top 10 countdowns that sometimes aren't about wrestling or sports or anything. You never know what the top 10 countdowns will be about. And Ricky Steamboat was a good one back in the day, Patrick. But back in the day, you saw those hour-long wrestling matches. Nowadays, you're lucky on TV to get a 10-minute wrestling match. But fans complain because Sami Zayn is not champion, and then as soon as he gets the belt, they complain that Sami Zayn is the champion. But Paul Heyman was on some kind of podcast the other day. I want to say it was Chris Van Vliet, who, if you don't watch him on YouTube, he's always interviewing the different wrestlers, managers, valets, commentators, somebody in the wrestling business. And I want to say it was Chris Van Vliet, but he asked Paul Heyman, what do you think is the number one thing that fans nowadays need to comprehend, understand? And he said, it's not about the moment in the short term, it's about long term. And that's something else that wrestling fans don't understand. Back in the day, you would see feuds go on forever. Like if you ever go back and watch WCCW, World Class Championship Wrestling, when it was around, it was very, very, very popular. But every week, the main event was somehow, some way, a member of the Von Erich family against a member of the Freebirds. And that was a triple threat match one time, one-on-one match one time, two guys in a tag team match one time, a loser leaves town the next time. It was always something different storyline-wise, but every week you had somehow, some way, the Freebirds against the Von Erichs. And that went on for 5 or 6 years, and the fans ate it up. Nowadays, people complain if you wrestle somebody more than twice. And I don't understand, because if you don't wrestle anybody but once or twice, it's not really a feud. It's just a match that was meaningless and didn't mean anything. Hey there, Nikki. Glad to have you here. And Nikki, I got to be honest. I don't know if you're trying to be funny or asking a legit question, but I have no earthly idea who Cartman is. But I can tell you I've got 3 kids, and one of them's name is not Cartman. So I do not have a kid named Cartman, but I have no earthly idea who Cartman is. If Cartman's some TV character, I don't watch TV. People could get on here and name probably 15 TV shows, and there might be one that I've heard of. I don't watch TV. I watch sports, and then I watch like sports highlights, wrestling highlights, things like that. But as far as TV shows, no. I've never watched one episode of South Park in my entire life, but thank you for answering the question. And that's why I have no idea who Cartman is. And you go way back to 605 TBS. Patrick, I tell you, that's one thing I miss about Peacock. You said that. It reminded me that back in the day, Peacock had all that wrestling encyclopedias on their package. And I used to get on there all the time and watch WCW stuff from the late 80s when it was still part of NWA, and then early 90s, like 93, 94, 95, on up into 97, 98 when WCW hit its peak. But all that stuff is off Peacock now, and I hate that. But yeah, you're talking about back in the day with 605 TBS, and if you had a TV show like that today, it would never make it. And that's another thing that I think hurts wrestling is if you ever go back and watch WCW Saturday night, it came on every Saturday at 6:05 on TBS, and it was on for 2 hours. And the entire 2 hours, there'd be 10 matches, and each match would have a finish. And today's wrestling, the TV matches don't have a finish. But each match would have a finish, and each match would last 2 minutes, 3 at the most. And then the guy that won the match would walk over to the table and cut a 45-second promo talking about his upcoming pay-per-view match against, whoever he's feuding with. Nowadays, guys get a mic, they're going to talk for 27 minutes, then they're going to get in the ring, and the match is going to last 5, and it's going to have no finish. And that's something else that's changed that Jay and I talked about over on the Wrestling and Racing channel. Was back in the day, you could watch wrestling, and guys would have a finisher. Now, some of the finishers were cool, but now I'll be the first one to admit, back in the day, you can go back and watch like Mid-South Wrestling, mid-80s, and a lot of those guys, their finishers were a basic clothesline, a belly-to-back suplex, things that weren't really finishers, like Hulk Hogan's finisher was a leg drop. That's not a finisher. But Hogan was more of the, the gimmick guy than he was a wrestler, so you wouldn't give anybody else during that time a leg drop finisher, but for Hogan it worked because he was so popular. But that's not a finisher. But it was his finisher. Nowadays, I don't even know why they give guys finishing moves, because the word finish is supposed to mean the end, but nobody's finisher wins a match. So if your finisher is not going to finish the match and end the match, then why is it your finisher? It might be an almost finisher, an almost ender, but if the match don't end, it's not a finisher. My day is going fantastic, Blueberry. Thank you for asking. Every day is a good day. In my opinion, no such thing as a bad day. But Blueberry, if you're new to the channel, thank you so much for being here. Nikki, if you're new to the channel, thank you so much for being here. Y'all feel free to give the video a like, a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, tell your friends, tell your family about the channel, and make sure you click that bell so you'll be notified whenever I go live. And I should say we, because occasionally I do have my wife on here, but most of the time it is just me. But I don't know where we got into the fact that finishers couldn't be finishers anymore. You take the match yesterday with Sami Zayn. You go back and watch that match, and Cody Rhodes has got a finisher. Gunther's got a finisher. Sami Zayn's got a finisher. How does the match end? On a roll-up. And you watch, they all do it, but it's really bad in WWE. Almost every pay-per-view they have now, all the matches end with some kind of a roll-up in some way, shape, form, or fashion. So everybody's finisher should just be a roll-up, because that's how the matches end. I don't know where we got this mindset that the matches can no longer have a finishing move. We're going to end with something stupid. And most of the time, especially in title matches, especially pay-per-views, we have roll-ups. And I do not understand it. It used to be somebody's finisher was the end. Now you'll see Randy Orton do 75 RKOs and the match keeps going. Well, if an RKO don't end the match, it's not your finisher. So why do we call it a finisher? But we also have gotten to the point in wrestling where we can't sit back and let a feud run its course. We watch somebody wrestle somebody 2 times and we're tired of it. But if you don't do that, it's not a feud. And we've gotten to the point to where we want our wrestler to win every match they're in. And if they don't win every match they're in, we get mad about it. There's never been a wrestler win every match they're in. Look at Ric Flair. How did Ric Flair win 16 world championships? Because he lost the belt 15 times. You can't win 16 titles without losing 15 titles. But it was okay. But nowadays, we get our favorites, and they're our wrestlers, and every time they lose a match, we're mad at the world. And Paul Heyman said it's not about the short term, it's about long term. If long term, your guy gets the championship back, why does it matter that he lost it? But we get our feelings hurt and threaten to quit watching wrestling and want to boycott it because our wrestler lost a match. Who the heck cares? As long as the match was good and both guys did their part, why does it matter if your man lost a match? I don't understand how wrestling fans have gotten so sensitive, especially since we always say that we know it's scripted, but yet we threaten to quit watching it because our guy got beat. Or we threaten to quit watching it because back in the day, Muhammad Hassan had to get pulled off TV because they said, oh, that man can't be on TV anymore because his character. It's a freaking character. But yet we'll say, oh, we know it's scripted, but we get mad about it. If you know it's scripted, why you get mad about it? Because you look really stupid and really dumb to say you know it's scripted, but yet you still want to be a big baby and whine about it. I just don't understand it. And Patrick, I've heard a lot of people say that, and happy Sunday to you as well, Devin, and glad to have you here. If you are new to the channel, thank you for being here. But Patrick, I've heard a lot of people say that, but the thing I've said all along, and I still say it, because I really truly don't know, because you have the Triple H folks to say one thing, and then you have the other side say something different. Is ever since WWE was bought out last year, 2 years ago, whenever it was, and the cons have got involved, the TV storytelling has been completely different. But before they were involved, when Triple H ran it, everybody loved Triple H. And now all of a sudden, the same guy's booking it, and everybody hates Triple H. But if Triple H didn't know what he's doing, why was it so good 3 years ago when he first took over? And then all of a sudden it went bad. You don't go to bed a great booker and the next day wake up and you can't book. It doesn't make sense. So either Triple H has sucked the entire time, or he's been great the entire time, because you can't be a good booker and all of a sudden overnight you can't book anymore. And a lot of people say that they don't think Triple H gets final say so, because ever since they've been bought out and the cons have got involved, the storytelling has been totally different. And the only thing that's changed was the cons getting involved, because now they get the final say. And that was the worst thing about getting bought out, because you buy something because, yes, there's money in it. But if you're not a wrestling fan and you can't book a wrestling show, you shouldn't have input on a wrestling show, because you don't know wrestling. And ever since they become involved, it's been totally different. But you have one side, the Triple H supporters, that say, oh, he's the greatest thing ever. But then you have the Triple H haters that say he's the worst thing ever. But why is it when he first took over, it was great, and now it sucks? You're going to tell me the man in NXT was great, then he comes to the big time and he's great, and then all of a sudden he wakes up one day and he can no longer run a wrestling show? That just doesn't make sense. So to me, I believe Triple H tries to book it, but I think the con side, or the ones that bought them, always get last word. And even if Triple H don't like it, he can't stop them. But Patrick, I don't think you'll ever see Vince come back, and I hope we never see Vince come back. But by the way, Patrick, before I forget, and all the other new ones on here, I try to tell all the newbies on here that if you're on Facebook, feel free to send me a friend request or a direct message on Facebook. I talk to everybody. I'm not going to ignore you. I may not see your message right away. I may not respond right away, but I promise you it's never going to be where you send me a message on a Monday and it's Thursday before I get back to you. I don't do that. I make sure that every night before I go to bed, I get on Facebook and check my messages and make sure that I've responded to everybody, because I never want to be the guy that seems like he's better than everybody and won't talk to people. I will. As long as you come on there and you send me a message and you're trying to have an actual, general, real conversation, I'll talk to you. Now, if you come on there trying to be childish, I'm not 6. I'm not going to talk to you. But if you come on there and you have real questions or you have real comments, feel free to get on there and send me a friend request or just send me a message and I will get back to you. But if your name is different on there than it is on here, make sure you let me know. Otherwise, I'll talk to you, but I have no idea who I'm talking to. But some people, they've got one name on TikTok and one name on YouTube and one name on Facebook and one name on Snapchat. But I don't have TikTok. I don't have Snapchat. I don't have whatever else is out there. The only social media I have is Facebook. So if you're on Facebook, feel free to give me a friend request or just a message, and I'll talk to you on there as well. But what's changed so much about wrestling fans, and what's made it change? Why have the finishers became not finishers? Why are wrestling fans nowadays never happy, like the Sami Zayn case, where we stick around for 3 years complaining that he's not world champion, and then as soon as he becomes world champion, we complain that he's world champion? It just doesn't make sense. And why are we so easy to get offended at characters like Mordecai and Muhammad Hassan and things like that? And Patrick, I wasn't sure, because you'd be surprised that the wrestling fans that I actually know, that I talk to on a regular basis, either in person or at work or on Facebook or whatever, that actually want Vince to come back because they swear up and down that it was better when Vince was there. So you'd be surprised how many folks actually, want him back, not realizing that Vince is also in his 80s. And, Mother Nature, Father Time, undefeated. They're not going to lose. So, yeah, Vince is still in, fairly good shape now for his age. But who's to say that in 3 more years he doesn't fall apart physically? Well, then you got a man in charge that can't be in charge because he done went loony. And that happens because we all get old, and that's what happens. But, Patrick, you'd be surprised how many folks actually do want Vince to come back because they swear up and down that it was better when he was there. But, Patrick, if you don't have any plans on Saturday, feel free to come on out to Bobby Brown Park in Elberton, Georgia, and be a part of the show. We're going to have face painting. We're going to have vendors. I know we're going to have slushies. That part I do know. And we're going to have fireworks as well. The event starts at 5 o'clock, but the wrestling will be at 6:30. And Patrick, if you're on Facebook, let me know. And if I can find the link to purchase tickets, I'll be more than happy to send it to you. But fireworks nowadays are so expensive that if you go to a normal firework, extravaganza, it's probably only going to last 10 minutes because they're so expensive. And if it's going to last longer than that, your ticket's going to be really, really expensive. So why not come to wrestling and pay one price to see wrestling and fireworks all in the same night? But any more thoughts on any of this, please feel free to let me know. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. I tried donating blood today. Never again. Too many stupid questions. Whose blood is it? Where'd you get it from? Why is it in a bucket? And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them.